Dazod 500 presents Canadian Elections of History. The 43rd election in Canadian history took place on the 21st of October 2019. It's actually the first election that I remember happening. I remember that my teacher made a bet with me that if the Bloc Québécois won the election, she'd give me free McDonald's for lunch. That was a really mean thing to do, knowing that the Bloc can't physically win. But, anyways. By 2019, Justin Trudeau wasn't looking like the most popular prime minister in Canadian history. In fact, the majority of people actually thought he was rather weak. However, in July 2019, an independent academically edited study assessed Justin Trudeau's government, which saw that he kept 92% of his pledges. However, a lot of people didn't actually know this because he failed to keep his most important pledge, electoral reform, which he promised in his 2015 majority government win. But the Liberals weren't the only party struggling with strong leadership. The Conservatives took 2 years to hold a federal leadership election, in which Andrew Scheer won on the 17th ballot. And he actually came in second in all previous ballots. In first place was Maxime Bernier, the MP for Beauce. Getting upset over the fact that he won 16 different ballots and only lost one, and that ended up cheating him out of the leadership, he left the caucus of the Conservative Party to form his own new party called the People's Party. Although they're not going to be a major force in this election, despite being listed as a major party. The NDP also felt like they didn't have confidence in their previous leader, Tom Mulcair, who was rejected at the NDP leadership review with only 48% of the vote in 2016. The next year, in 2017, Jagmeet Singh won the leadership election and became the new federal leader of the New Democratic Party. This is interesting and notable because he's the first non-white, non-Christian leader of a federal party in Canada. But no party can complain about insufficient leadership more than the Bloc Québécois, because their longtime leader, Gilles Duceppe, who hadn't been long-time for 2015 because he came in and then he resigned immediately after the election, the Bloc Québécois had quite a few different leaders before appointing their new one. They went through Réal Fortin, who was in there for just over a year, before being replaced by Martine Ouellet, who was in there for again just over a year, and was vacant for 2 days in June before the party president, Mario Beaulieu, came in as the interim leader, before finally being replaced with Yves-François Blanchet in 2019 in the leadership election with no opposition. A lot of Canadians were embarrassed when pictures emerged back from a couple of decades ago when Justin Trudeau used apparent blackface. This caused a huge controversy and nearly costed the Liberals the election. This frustration directed at the Prime Minister was evident in polling. Trudeau went from consistently winning polls up until about mid-2018, where the Conservatives finally took over against the Liberals in the polls. Justin Trudeau then held some sort of a lead over the Conservatives before eventually being passed just before the election in opinion polls. But both the People's Party and the Conservatives did tend to agree on quite a few things. Privatization. The Conservatives were all about privatizing the Trans Mountain Pipeline, and the People's Party supported that as well, but they also supported privatizing Canada Post and the CBC. In total, there were 4 debates that ended up happening. The first one was held in Toronto by Maclean's and City TV, with the Liberals refusing to attend. The Conservatives, the NDPs, and the Greens were the only ones that showed up that night. However, on the 2nd of October, TVA held a debate in French, where everyone, except for the Greens and the People's Party, was present there. But however, on the 7th and on the 10th, the Leaders' Debate Commission held debates in English and French, where all 6 major party candidates attended. Jagmeet Singh had some very harsh words for the People's Party leader Maxime Bernier.
This debate tonight, I think people can clearly see why I didn't think you should deserve a platform. The comments that you're making, the type of things you say, there's one thing to say that you disagree with somebody, that's fine. But when you incite hatred, when you incite division,
no, I don't. It's not true. You cannot say that.
You insult a young girl,
I just want to have a debate.
Ask about her mental stability. It shows a lack of judgment. You don't deserve a platform, and I'm happy to challenge you on that because your ideas are hurtful to Canada. I will always work to build unity and bring people together.
Unity for people.
Before we talk about the results, I just wanted to note that Aaron Weir, who was an MP for the NDP, but was then kicked out of the party, decided to declare allegiance to the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, the party who hasn't existed since 1961. This is technically allowed because a party doesn't have to be registered with Elections Canada in order to have MPs declare their allegiance to it. Well, here are the results. 67% of Canadians went out and voted in this election, giving the winner of the election 6 million votes, and that equals to 33% of the popular vote. That equals to 157 seats, which is not quite enough for a majority, but it is enough to win a minority government, and that'd be re-electing incumbent Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. This was actually interesting because he did not win the popular vote. Andrew Scheer and the Conservatives got 34% of the popular vote. The Bloc Québécois soared right back into third place, gaining 22 seats to get 32 seats won in this election. The NDP went down from 39 to 24, while the Green Party picked up an extra seat and went to their all-time high of 3. Maxime Bernier's People's Party lost Maxime Bernier's seat of Beauce, and they are officially out of the House. This election did end up setting a few records as well. It was the first election in over 40 years where the winner of the most amount of seats did not win the most amount of votes. This last happened in 1979, with Trudeau's father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, winning more votes than Joe Clark, but not ending up being able to stay in power. This is also the lowest amount of percent of the vote, with only 33, that someone ended up forming a minority government with up to that point. Having ruled out a potential coalition with the NDP, and being frustrated the fact that he wasn't able to pass anything he wanted to, Justin Trudeau called an early election for 2021. But I'll talk to you all about that when I see you guys for the election of 2021.